The Secret Mesozoic Era is the Triassic Period. Before the Triassic, all continents existed as a single giant, supermassive continent, Pangea. With the onset of the Triassic, Pangea began to gradually split into Gondwana and Eurasia. The Atlantic Ocean began to form. Climate warming causes many inland seas to dry up. The consequences of the Permian extinction had a very negative impact on the animal and plant life of our planet. But during the first 10 million years, life gradually recovered and flourished. Changes in temperature at different points on the Earth during the Triassic period began to have a marked effect on plants and animals. Certain groups of reptiles adapted to the cold seasons. Mammals and somewhat later birds evolved from these groups in the Triassic. The temperature drop was strongest in northern latitudes. In other places, the climate remained warm, so the few reptiles that survived did well. Thanks to the hot climate, vegetation developed very quickly. Marine invertebrates played an important role in creating a favorable climate. Reef-forming animals and ammonites. Reefs up to 4,000 feet thick begin to form. This phenomenon favors the formation of an ecological system. Bivalves, algae, sea urchins, starfish, and sponges lived between the corals and formed coarse or fine-grained sand that filled all coral voids. Some cephalopod mollusks that lived in the seas reached gigantic sizes. The shells of some of them were up to 16 feet in diameter. Today, the seas are home to giant cephalopod mollusks. Squid, for example, reach up to 60 feet in length. But in the Mesozoic era, there were many more ginormous forms. These are the nautiloids, the first cephalopod mollusks. Throughout the Paleozoic era, nautiloids were the most common marine predators. Then came new, more highly evolved cephalopods, including ammonites. Numerous ammonites almost disappeared in the Permian extinction, but by the mid-Triassic period, populations of these creatures had spread across the Earth again. New mollusks, such as oysters, appeared in the seas. Oysters burrowed into the bottom sand, passed water through their shells, and filtered out food particles. Many new gastropod mollusks have also appeared. These are snails and their relatives. New varieties of corals, shrimps, and lobsters began to appear. The ancestors of sea lilies, sea urchins, and starfish began to appear. The Triassic seas were home to calcareous sponges, muskrats, leaf-legged crayfish, and ostracods. Ancient sharks swam in freshwater bodies, and the seas had a huge number of different molluscids. The first primitive bony fish appear. Sharks and bony fish constantly created conflicts between themselves over prey. Each species tried to dominate the other. Over time, fish and sharks developed jaws that could gnaw through the shells of crabs and mollusks like mussels. The diversity of ray-finned fish increased. Among the rays, predators like the modern pike appeared. The largest Triassic ray-finned fish were up to 3 feet long. Zauryctes, for example, consumed pterosaurs among other foods. Their fossilized remains have been found in the stomachs of these fish. Cartilaginous fish, on the other hand, became almost extinct in the Triassic. This class was threatened with extinction. The primitive jawless canodonts that lived in the Cambrian period finally become extinct in the Triassic. The titanopteran insects appeared. These were huge grasshoppers up to 36 centimeters in length. The largest predators of the Triassic seas were aquatic reptiles. The lizard-like nodosaurs caught fish with their sharp teeth. The well-known ichthyosaurs could catch up with any prey thanks to their outstanding speed. The largest placodonts, similar to newts, crawled along the sea floor, searching for shells and then crushing their prey with their powerful flat teeth. The most famous protorosaur is Tanystropheus. Tanystropheus had a long and slender neck that was twice as long as its body. It was a land animal and probably used its slender neck as a fishing rod. Standing at the water's edge, the Tanystropheus could reach fish swimming underwater at a considerable distance from the shore. At the beginning of the Triassic period, animal life was the same throughout the Earth's landmass. Different species could spread freely throughout Pangea because there were no large water barriers in the way. Huge herds of herbivorous lystrosaurs made small journeys, and these animals rested near lakes and rivers. Scientists are finding fossilized remains of these animals in different countries: China, India, South Africa, and even Antarctica. In the early Triassic, the first frogs foraged alongside them. Later, the first land and water turtles and crocodiles joined the ancestors of frogs. Very soon, aquatic turtles and crocodiles invaded the warm seas. These creatures multiplied rapidly and spread throughout the world's oceans. In the Triassic period, vertebrates became the dominant class. And of this class, the quadrupeds stood out strongly. That's when a new group called reptilomorphs was born. Reptilomorphs didn't lay eggs, they laid eggs. From the reptilomorphs, a group of archosauromorphs multiplied, and from this group came the most numerous subgroup called archosaurs. Archosaurs means ruling reptiles. The first archosaurs were small animals that hunted small game along the shores of lakes and rivers. Subsequently, large representatives of the fauna evolved from these animals. The largest group of Triassic archosaurs was called the cruritarians. Unlike the first dinosaurs, these were stocky, powerful, and relatively clumsy creatures. And this family belonged to the archosaur class of the Ticodontes. Scientists gave these creatures the name phytosaurs. Phytosaurs led a semi-aquatic lifestyle, almost like modern crocodiles. The family Pseudopolotini, which includes the largest, nearly terrestrial animals of the Triassic up to 40 feet, stands out here. The third large group of cruritarsi were the etiosaurs. These animals were herbivorous and had bony plates on their skin, and some had horns. The typical length of an etosaurus was from 3 to 16 feet. Also in the Triassic period, the prosauropods appeared. These were the direct descendants of all dinosaurs. Unlike true sauropods, prosauropods retained the stability to stand on their hind legs and eat leaves from the top of a particularly tall tree. The largest family of Triassic prosauropods were the plateosaurids, reaching up to 33 feet in length and weighing almost a ton. The next large family of Triassic prosauropods were rheogosaurids, which reached approximately the same size as plateosaurids. But the detachment of true sauropods in the Triassic is just beginning to form. Another large group of Triassic animals are the pteropods. They are the only predatory dinosaur troop. All other dinosaurs were herbivorous. Another family of theropods originated in the Triassic period. These were the hererosaurs, which reached from 6 to 20 feet in length and weighed from 65 and up to 750 pounds. The Triassic period also saw the emergence of two genera of Pisidozoan dinosaurs. Small and agile plant-eating creatures reached up to 3 feet in length and 20 pounds in weight. At the end of the Triassic period, two important events occurred in the evolution of life on Earth. One event occurred on land and marked the appearance of the first mammals. The second event occurred in the air and was associated with the arrival of the pterosaurs. Vaschaltosaurus was a small lizard that lived in the Permian period that attempted to take to the air. Vaschaltosaurus had no real wings, but this creature planned tree to tree like modern flying squirrels. Pterosaurs were a distinct branch of archosaurs that split off in the Triassic from the general lineage. These small archosaurs had leathery wings and learned to fly. The first pterosaurs fed on insects. A special representative of the Triassic archosaurs is Protoavis, the ancestor of all birds. However, not all paleontologists agree that he is the ancestor of all birds. Another group of archosaurs were reptiles, the herbivorous rhynchosaurs. The jaws and teeth of rhynchosaurs were perfectly adapted to cut and chop hard plants. Eoparchariids appeared, which were similar to small dinosaurs, but were not related. They were very agile creatures. Eoparchariids could run across bodies of water on the surface like modern basilisk lizards. Lepidosauromorphs are the creatures from which modern snakes and lizards evolved. Among the ancestors of reptiles, a particularly large group, Sauropterygians, stood out. These were creatures that adopted an aquatic lifestyle, like modern seals. Of the Sauropterygians, the most popular species is known as Nodosaurus. Another interesting group of Sauropterygians are placodonts. Placodonts tried to occupy the ecological niche of sea turtles, but these representatives of Lepidosauromorphs had nothing to do with turtles. Placodonts ranged in length from 900 centimeters to 6 feet. Not all placodonts had a well-developed shell. Some had only separate bony plates, almost imperceptible. The Triassic period saw the appearance of plesiosaurs. But while these inhabitants were small in size, no more than 6 feet. Among the Sauropterygians, the Pistosaurus was particularly notable. Pistosaurus was about 10 feet long and weighed up to 900 pounds. Pistosaurus had a very long neck and a very stiff backbone. The limbs were represented by fins in the form of paddles. Pistosaurus fed exclusively on fish, possessing teeth ideal for catching them. In the Triassic period, the first beaked-headed lizards, close to modern Gothera, appeared. Various species of ichthyosaurs thrived in the water. These quadrupeds, like modern dolphins and whales, finally adopted an aquatic lifestyle. Ichthyosaurs eventually became hydrodynamic and viviparous. The huge round eyes of ichthyosaurs are explained by the fact that these animals did not use echolocation like whales or dolphins. Ichthyosaurs relied entirely on their eyesight, and it can be said that the eyes of predators made a huge evolution and transformation. The legs of early ichthyosaurs evolved into fins. This was a great advantage when searching for prey in the vast ocean. Ichthyosaurs began to increase in size and split into numerous species. Shastosaurus is considered the largest of the ichthyosaur families. The largest individual of Shastosaurus reached a length of 75 feet and weighed up to 40 tons. Shastosaurus became the record holder in size among the Triassic and previous periods. In the Triassic period, the first true turtles appear. The shells of turtles were not yet formed, and these mammals could not hide their heads and legs in case of danger. The Triassic period was filled with a wide variety of lizards. At the very beginning of the Mesozoic, a major extinction event was still underway. It hit the synapsid group of reptilomorphs hard. The largest group of cynodonts or dogtooths remained at the top of the food chain. Cynodonts were fast-footed predatory reptiles that attacked herds of long-lived herbivores. At the end of the Triassic, cynodonts gave rise to true mammals, such as the ancestors of modern mice and shrews. In addition to the listed representatives of synapsids, there were also small pterocephals that survived the Permian Triassic extinction. The smallest group of animals in the Triassic includes all amphibians. This group included the capitosaurs. These were large crocodile-like creatures from 2 to 20 feet in length. Among the amphibians of the Triassic, small creatures such as Trematosaurus and Plagiosaurus are known. Metaposaurs and Chagutisaurus, which reached up to 10 feet in length, also appeared among the new species. The Triassic saw the appearance of the first frog, Triadbatrachus. Unlike modern frogs, this 32-foot-long animal had a small tail, more like a spur. About 255 million years ago, a group of reptiles called tocodonts evolved. Thocodonts were aquatic and swam with the help of a powerful tail while raking with their hind legs, which were much larger than their front legs. When the early tecodontes left the water for land, the strong hind legs of these animals quickly adapted to walking on hard ground. A little later, thecodonts not only walked fast, but also ran fast. When walking, these animals used 4 legs, but reptiles could run using only their hind legs. Over the next 20 million years, thecodonts evolved into the first dinosaurs on Earth. Stegocyphals were sedentary animals with a small body, small limbs, and a large head. Stegocyphals used ambush when hunting. The predators waited for prey to pass by and suddenly attacked the victim. Mastodontosaurs. The skulls of these animals were up to 3 feet long. Mastodontosaurs resembled huge frogs in appearance. These giant frogs preyed on fish and therefore rarely left the aquatic environment. The swamp became smaller, and the mastodontosaurs were forced to inhabit deeper and deeper places, often congregating in large numbers. This is why many skeletons of these animals are now found in small areas. In the Triassic, very many groups of the most diverse animals appear, but by the end of the period all the above-mentioned animal species become extinct. New creatures fill the empty niches of the extinct animals. Dinosaurs and other reptiles become the dominant group of land animals. Theropods and prosauropods appear among the dinosaurs. Pteropods moved on well-developed hind limbs, had heavy tails, powerful jaws, and small and weak forelimbs. In size, these animals ranged from a few centimeters to 50 feet. Pteropods were absolute predators. Prosauropods fed, as a rule, on plants. Some were omnivorous animals. The herbivores walked on 4 legs. Prorasauropods had a small head, long neck and tail. Plesiosaurs lived in the sea but sometimes came ashore. Predators reached up to 50 feet in length and fed on fish. There is also something else worth mentioning. This is a chirotherium or chirotherium. It's not a living thing. It's what scientists call a fossilized Triassic footprint. Coincidentally, these footprints look remarkably similar to the hands of monkeys, humans, and bears. Traces of Chirotherium were first found in German Triassic sandstones in 1838, and then in England in 1838. The same traces were found before dinosaurs were known. The theories as to what animal these footprints belong to are quite varied, but no one has yet reached a consensus. Many reptiles appear in the sea, which are undoubtedly descended from mainland ancestors. Turtles with wide bone shells, dolphin-like ichthyosaurs, and giant plesiosaurs with a small head on a long neck evolved rapidly. Ichthyosaurus had a row of uniform teeth. In turtles, the teeth disappear. The five-toed limbs of ichthyosaurs develop into flippers well adapted for swimming. Beginning in the Triassic period, the primates that moved to live in the sea gradually inhabited increasingly large areas of the ocean. Thank you for watching this episode to the end. Give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also press the bell to not miss new and interesting episodes from our channel.